Hey, Dad,
Yeah, bud.
I got a surprise for you.
Like what?
I was just thinking about all the stuff you've done for me over the years, and I thought I'd show you my appreciation.
What are you talking about?
Bought you your dream car.
What?
Yeah, it's right over here.
Dude, no way. You seriously bought me this? Is this for real right now? You really bought me this?
Yeah, here you go.
Man, thanks. You're the best, son.
What do you think, Dad? Dad! Dad! Dad!
Huh?
You're snoring again.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Daninator channel. What we have here is my 5.3 liter LM7 LS motor that came out of my 1999 Chevy Silverado Z71. This puppy's got 250,000 miles on it. It never smoked. The motor had a good oil pressure. In cold weather, it would kind of idle up and down. I don't know if it needed new intake gaskets or if there was a sensor or something that was going out. But other than that, it ran healthy, as you can tell by these clips here. So this is going to be the power plant for my Project ZRS, which is a 1997 Chevrolet Camaro RS with a 3.8 liter V6 motor in it. It's an automatic transmission, and what we're going to do is stuff this in it, made it with a T56 six-speed manual transmission, and it's going to be basically my dream car, a early 4th gen hardtop 6-speed V8. It's going to be pretty sweet. Got a set of SS wheels I'm going to put on as well, so when it's all said and done, it's going to be basically my dream car. I do have my 1999 Z28 convertible that I'm using for the parts. It was a 6-speed. It's got all the pedals. It's got the wiring harness, the K-member, drive shaft, radiator, fans, computer, all that stuff is with it. So that car right there is what's going to make this possible. So what we're going to do today is kind of give it a closer look at this engine. I'm going to take the intake off, valve covers. We'll take the heads off and take a look at the cylinders and see how they're doing. This engine had good oil pressure. It does have some spots where it looks like it had been leaking. I believe the valve covers and definitely the oil pan. And we had some good old leakage down in there. This engine never ran hot other than just routine maintenance, changing the oil, spark plugs. We did have one fuel rail that I replaced because it was leaking. Changed the alternator. I never had to replace the water pump. So other than just a lot of miles and dirty, this thing ran really well. So I noticed when I was looking at it a little while ago, my ignition coil snapped right there. And I thought, well, how in the world did that happen? But I remember when I was pulling this, I heard a popping noise. I don't like that. And I thought the chain was settling. No. The chain was up against that, and the weight of the engine snapped that and caused the whole thing to kind of sound like it was going to crash down in my engine bay. So anyway, what we're going to do, I'm going to take the engine mounts off, the ignition coils, I'm going to take the intake off, water pump. I want to look at this valve train. We'll get the heads off, and we'll take a look at the condition of the cylinders. So anyway, let's go ahead and get this intake off. Got some leaves and acorns down in here. Get rid of those real quick. You know what, I think I might do a little vacuuming first. Well, that certainly helped. There was an awful lot of acorns, leaves, and mouse poop down in there. This truck did sit for a couple of years. I'll go ahead and pull these 10 bolts and lift the injectors and the intake all out in one piece. These 10 bolts down through here are 8mm, so I'm going to be using my dynamic tools. This is my 8mm deep well and extension, and I'm going to be using a little impact gun to get these 10 bolts out. My impact gun is the Bauer brushless 1/2-inch impact. I've used this thing quite a bit since I bought it, and I've been pretty satisfied with it. I've just noticed a couple of hoses. There's this one right here, and this one right here. Go ahead and pull these off before they pull the intake. Sticking the screwdriver in there to kind of break it loose because it's really stuck on there. So I think everything's been disconnected that's supposed to be. PCV hose. Oh, that looks like that can come off. Oh my goodness. I think some junk just fell down into the head. That's marvelous. Get my vacuum back out. Ooh. You can tell these intake gaskets weren't doing real well. Quite a bit of carbon in there. Yep. So yeah, I'd say those puppies were due. Take these coil packs off, just 10 millimeter. Well, cool. I suppose that's about what I expected a 250,000 mile motor to look like. Take this thing off. I think this bracket is here to protect the fuel rail. I think these are what the knock sensors, I think. Taking these sensors out. Supposed to squeeze on this plastic piece. Now, when you squeeze on the plastic piece, it releases the catches right there. Garage today, we're going to be pulling the cylinder heads off of this motor to inspect the health of the cylinders. So let's go wrenching, boys. I'm going to be using my dynamic tools. If you're interested in picking up a set, check out shopdynamictools.com. Use the code Daninator15. Save 15% every time you order. You pick something up one day, go back a couple weeks later, use that same code, get 15% off again. Daninator 15, shop.dynamictools.com. Save you some money on some quality tools. So I just broke all these loose with a 15mm socket. This happens to be my new Dynamic Tools impact sockets. Pretty stinking nice. Just pick these up. Again, use Daninator 15 if you want to save 15% off these bad boys. Shop.dynamictools.com. There we go. Okay, all these bolts up here are 10mm. All right, looking at the pusher rods, you know, for 250,000 miles, they look pretty good. Straight, a little gaumy. Still look pretty round on the tip. I mean, they don't look like they're overly worn down. There's a closer look. Let's take a look at this head gasket. That material in between the cylinders looks like it's swollen, rusty.
Hey, everybody!
My boy's home. All right, now we're going to wrench off this driver's side cylinder head. Yeah, I'm sure this thing was probably due for some head gaskets soon. Really see anywhere where there might have been any leak or anything. I certainly wasn't burning any antifreeze. Speaking of which, I'm willing to bet the majority of you watching this right now gotta pee. The underside of these cylinder heads look okay, I guess. The one thing I am noticing, they're all consistently the same color. So I guess that's a good thing. Being a guy that's never torn down an engine before, I think what I'm looking at is a very healthy engine for 250,000 miles. I'm just assuming all new seals, new bearings, push rods, lifters, rings, oil pan's got to be an F-body oil pan with a F-body oil pickup tube. It's going to have an F-body intake. So, I mean, to sit here and think, well, that's all it's going to need. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's probably going to be a lot more than I'm anticipating, but in any event, I got a buddy coming over here pretty soon. He's going to check out this engine and look at the cylinder walls and stuff and give me a little feedback on what he thinks. He's torn engines down before he's built them, so I'll get his opinion. Right now, I'm thinking with the way things are going right now in my life, I don't have a whole lot of spare time. So I would love the experience of rebuilding this myself, and I'm not ruling that out just yet. But just for the time sake, I may just have this go off to an engine shop and have them do it. Certainly would be a burden off of me because I've got a lot on my plate right now. And anyway, we'll wait until my buddy gets here and we'll see what he thinks about it. All right, my buddy CC's here.
Yep, hello.
So he's built engines before. He knows what he's looking at. I don't.
Yeah, right here you have some scoring. Looks like some ring chatter or something. Maybe at one point it was starving for some oil, that's the farthest back from the oil pump. Oil pump's in the front, so that makes sense.
How would you get that out?
I got honing blocks, so yeah. A lot of people use dingleberry hones, but the problem with dingleberry hones, because they're spring loaded, they're more of a flex loaded. That will get into low spots. Does not necessarily make the cylinder flat. It'll take that scoring out, but it may make a low spot.
Okay.
So when your rings go across it, it would have a low spot there. With a hone, which is a long sanding block, and it's spring loaded, and you can run it with a drill, it actually will smooth out the highs and lows and make it even.
All right, so you don't have oil slipping by the rings,
Right,
is what you're getting at.
Right. And then there's one mark right here where you had something in there. There's like a vertical line right here.
Okay.
I would probably hone that out. And then I didn't really see anything anywhere else. What's interesting about this engine is there's no ridge. So that's very good, because usually on engines you have, especially 200 plus, you said?
Yeah, 250.
You should have a ridge here, and there's not one, so we don't have to cut that out.
Is the crosshatch still look pretty
Yeah,
decent?
there is still a really good crosshatch in there. You just have a couple spots where you have, like, I don't know what that's going on there. I can't get that to come out.
I don't know if that's...
Yeah, you just have couple little marks. Nothing I would worry about. Like I said, I would hone these out with that hone. And then if you have a dingleberry hone.
My father-in-law's got one.
Yeah, those are good to put the crosshatch back in. I would use the hone type, and that'll get it flat. And then dingleberry hone, if you want a real pretty crosshatch, that's what those are good for.
Gotcha. We're not taking pictures of it, are we?
Yeah. And then I would get file to fit rings, but still stock length, because we're not going to take enough away that it's going to matter.
Yeah.
I mentioned to see what the bottom end looks like. Have you had the oil pan off yet?
No, we can take it off if you want to.
Yeah, and then that way we can see what, and take a main cap off and see what our main bearings look like.
All right, let's do that.
Let's pull, it doesn't matter, a main cap. Yeah, these are going to have some umph in them.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, we'll just pull one to see what it looks like. Because these are going to be like 70 foot-pounds or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't bet.
Oh, that one better.
That's probably not a good sign.
Maybe not.
Yeah, that's,
or I'm stronger than I thought.
That's way too easy. Yeah. That should not have been that easy.
I think I'm stronger than I thought. Yeah. We'll go with that.
Well, I don't think a strong smell matters when you're taking bolts off. That one had a little more.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, there you go. You say these must not be the same torque as the middle ones. So I was like, that was too easy. You can smell a lot of burnt oil on this thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But you said there at the end, you kind of really give it a rub.
Oh, I bumped it off the rev limiter a few times.
Yeah.
I had some fun with it. So when we go to rebuild this thing, are we getting all new hardware, you think?
You definitely want to get new hardware for anything that's torqued, because they'll stretch.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Head bolts for sure, main bearings, and if you take your rod bearings apart, you want all new bolts.
Okay.
Like, you're talking like 13, 14 pounds. Okay, that's nothing. But when
Yeah.
you're talking 50, 60 or above, yeah, I would definitely get new bolts because they do stretch.
Gotcha.
So I like to do stud main caps. I like to do studs for the heads instead of bolts. They're stronger. The chances of you lifting a head under high horsepower or high rev is a lot less. They're not much different price-wise, so I will buy a stud kit usually.
This is the farthest I've ever gone with an engine.
You get a rag?
Yeah.
Alright, so you have somewhere, but nothing crazy. So see where you got shiny and then dull?
Yeah.
Anywhere you have the dull parts, it's wearing away the top finish.
Gotcha.
The bearing doesn't look bad enough. I don't see any scoring or anything. And I would say the crank is probably fine. Wing spin it. Yeah, I don't see anything in the crank that scares me. And I like
just some typical, like I'm saying, some of that wear, like you're talking about on the bearing.
But like you can't feel it at all.
Okay.
I've taken some like 1000 grit emery cloth and like touched that up, but I almost wouldn't even mess with that. I would just get new main bearings, and that I would call it. I wouldn't, especially like you're saying, it's not gonna be anything crazy.
Yeah, I ain't gonna drag race it or
and
nothing.
it's gonna be good. Like there's nothing there, but I mean, if you wanted to touch it up with emery cloth, it wouldn't hurt it any. Now that's a middle one. The farther you get away from the oil pump,
so this one,
the worse it can get, right? But a middle one's a good middle of the road. Like, hey, I don't see anything crazy, normal wear for a 200,000+ mile engine. So
cool.
Nothing that concerns me when I first look at it. If you want to pull a rod bearing, we can.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, see, that's what the first one should have been like.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, those should have had more torque than these. So,
yeah, this felt pretty snug.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That should have been a lot more. Oh yeah, look at this one. You had a real good wear spot right
Ooh.
there.
Yep.
Definitely gonna need some rod bearings.
Yeah.
You got a little bit of scoring there. Emery cloth about 1000 grit, and just make a loop and do that, right? Until it's nice and polished. Keep it really lubed up as you're doing it. You can get most of that out. But again, I don't feel any of it. It's just
I didn't feel anything in the nail.
It's still better to try to with 1000 grit,
Yeah.
polish it up. So saying you won't hurt anything doing that, and you can put stock in. I like to say loose bottom, tight top makes an engine that doesn't fail.
Okay.
In my experience, the tighter your clearances is in the bottom, the higher the chances are for failure. Now, there is a certain extent where it can be too loose. Tighter the clearance, the less oil that gets in there. So if you do have any type of blockage, it gets no oil.
Right.
So I like to be on the looser end of what's allowable specs, right?
Okay.
I don't like to be on the tighter end.
Gotcha.
Me. That's just me.
Makes sense.
Once you get the pistons out, you might need it's a press fit shaft that goes through where it connects.
The pin.
Thank you.
The wrist pin.
Wrist pin,
Wrist pin.
You'll probably need new wrist pins.
Okay.
Forgot the word for a minute. I've soaked these parts in diesel fuel and then take a nylon brush to clean them up. Or if you have a way to put hot water to a pressure washer, those clean it up real good too.
I was going to say, how would I get this block and everything
Right, so
cleaned up?
I'd strip it down, and then I use oven cleaner. I soak everything down with oven cleaner, and that will get all the oil and stuff off as much as possible. And then I come back with a pressure washer, usually, for the block.
Okay.
All the internal pieces, I like to soak in diesel fuel, like I was just saying, and then a nylon brush, not a metal type brush. You will score the parts.
Right, that's a bad deal.
Yeah.
I still haven't quite made up my mind yet what I want to do. If I want to just take it to a shop.
No, you can
or
do it yourself.
Do it myself.
If you're not going to drag race it, do it yourself. The LSs are easy.
You got me thinking I'll do it myself.
You should. It'd be a really good video.
The only thing that's not in my favor is just my time.
The only thing that would make me take it to the shop if the cylinder walls were bad, and they're not. We can do that with a hone easy.
Yeah.
And putting bearings in is easy. That's easy. You can do that. And you could even plastic gauge it. You ever heard of that? Okay, you could plastic gauge it to check the tolerances. But what I would do is I would feeler gauge my bearing. Right? You know what I'm talking about? Feeler gauge my bearings. Feeler gauge the thickness.
Okay.
Feeler gauge the crank at the main and at the rod bearings. Then you would look up and see what stock it should have measured at, right? And then that will tell you if you need to go plus on your bearing.
Gotcha.
If it's missing some, you need to fill that gap with bearing. So you can do plus or minus 10 thousandths, 0.05 thousandths. I've seen that before. So you can plus it at whatever you need to make that clearance. But I would do that measurements after I polish my crank.
Right.
Yeah. Not before.
Good point. Because you'd be doing it all over again.
Yeah. You'll be like, man, this thing makes horrible noise. Yeah. But yeah, it looks like a really good rebuild engine to me.
All right, so if I were to take this to a shop and have them rebuild it, any idea what that's going to cost me?
If you have the cylinders redone, like if they have to actually machine them for you, it's usually somewhere, depending on the shop, somewhere between $30 and $50 a cylinder. It's shop hours then for them rebuilding it. And then are they buying the parts, or are you supplying them the parts that you're replacing? Because if they're buying the parts, then you get their shop tack-on price for parts. Again, their shop hours, and a lot of people's shop hours are $100 plus right now for engine builders an hour. This one is not in that bad a shape. You're not going to need your main journals honed. You're not going to need your crank resurfaced. This is a this is a DIY for me. I would definitely do this, and I think you are capable of doing this.
How much would you charge if I gave it to you?
If I wish I had the time. Right?
Yeah.
But
to actually doing it,
probably one of the easiest engines to rebuild.
It's good to hear.
Yeah.
I've got my shop manual on my overhaul procedures and stuff, so I think I could.
Yeah, and you always can phone a friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything that I need to just go ahead and get online and purchase, like rings, the cam? I mean, is there something I could go ahead and get?
I wouldn't until you completely get it disassembled and inspect everything.
Okay.
Because you never know what you could run into that could change your mind about the rebuild.
Gotcha.
Right? So once you get all the parts out, you can see the bottom side of the cylinder walls, and who knows, maybe you got a crack or a broken bottom end of your cylinder walls. But the way it was running, I don't think so. Anytime that you assume, that's when it gets in. Now, given that you weren't having any real problems, no overheating, no unexplained loss of oil, stuff like that, you're probably good. If I had any of those, I would have the blocks sent off to be crack tested.
Gotcha.
But you weren't having any of that, so I wouldn't worry about it.
This sucker was pumping like 50 pounds, almost 60 pounds of oil pressure when I pulled it.
Yeah, and I seen the video of you like hot rodding it, and it sounded good. So
okay.
Yeah, looks good.
Well, fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, man, for stopping by. This is awesome.
I'm glad.
Well, I was going to wrap up the video, but I'm going to pull this valley cover off. I want to see what the camshaft looks like if I can peek down in there. And I was thinking about taking the lifters out, or a set of lifters out, and just kind of look at them closer too. I believe I'm going to have to remove the knock sensors first. 7/8? Yep, 7/8. I've never really inspected these up close before, so interesting. This valley cover is just held on by 10mm bolts. I've had this engine upside down for a couple of weeks, so it's pretty oily up here on top. I'm probably slinging oil everywhere. There we go. There we go. These rubber grommets were stuck on there pretty snug. Alrighty then. So you can see the camshaft, the cam lobe looks pretty decent. This engine was turned upside down for a long time. Whatever was in the oil pan, I think, has kind of gathered up around the camshaft here. So it looks like there's a little bit of, debris or something. You can tell if it's metal filings or if it's just gunk. We don't know. As I turn the engine over, you'll see that lifter move. There you go. So that was a 10mm. Take the lifter tray out, and you're stuck down in there. Grab this lifter out right here. Look a lot like the socket in the rocker arm. Don't see anything majorly wrong with that lifter, so the roller still rolls nice and smooth. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna pull these out. Here we go. Oh yeah, that looks clean. Yeah, not too bad. Just varnished, old, 250,000 miles. Yeah, nothing really stands out as like a real major problem, so. All right then. All right, well, that's about as far down as I'm gonna take it right now. Really, we won't know the full extent of the health until we take all of the rod bearings and rod caps and all that stuff out, take a look at the crank, and look at the block to see if there's any cracks or anything. You would think something would kind of rear its ugly head if that was the case, but I think what we're dealing with here, just like my buddy said, is a good kind of a DIY rebuild. He's got me half convinced that I can do this myself, and I think if I did do it myself, it will take me a lot longer than sending off to a shop. It's been a few weeks since my buddy was here, and I've been meaning to get back out here and take this valley cover off. In that time from when he left, we've had kind of a new development with our life here. We are going to be starting a new project for this channel that's going to take up a lot of time, but it's a necessity for my family right now. That necessity isn't necessarily a good thing. I don't want to really divulge a whole lot because it's kind of personal, but we are dealing with a bit of health issue with the family, and all my stuff in here that I've kind of taken over this garage, it needs to move out, and I've got to put it somewhere. So I'm really excited to share that we are going to be building a shop on this channel. The work has already begun. If you've been following my Instagram, I threw a couple stories out there showing you some of the stuff that we're doing. As you can probably very well tell, in this economy we're living in, it's going to be kind of pricey to be doing this. We're going to try to do a lot of the stuff ourselves, you know, saving money is where we can, because it just don't grow on trees, folks. I'm sure you all know that pretty well. A lot of my plans for the project cars that I've got going on we're gonna have to find cheaper ways of doing things. I was just gonna have this go off to a shop and I just spend the money and get it done and over with, and now that doesn't necessarily look like that's really an option that I have right now. So it's been tough around here, but you know, we're making do, and you just kind of have to deal with it as it comes your way, and you know, just roll with the punches. Take a day at a time, and it's all cliche sounding, but that's really the truth. You just got to handle it as it comes at you. So hopefully I'll be able to get back to making some videos on the regular. Anyway, so that's this LM7 iron block 5.3 out of my 99 Silverado. So stay tuned for further videos on this engine build. If you'd like to help out the channel, I got these nice new t-shirts and hoodies that are on sale in my merch store. Just check out the link in the description or the store shelf below and pick you up one or two, and that'll help out the channel, and you'll get some cool merchandise that'll be the envy of the room. So as always, thanks for watching. God bless. Be sure and hit that like switch on the way out. We'll see you next time.